This is ESBR Boxing. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. It's our final video of the night. We've just seen Canelo Alvarez defeat John Ryder via unanimous decision on all three scorecards. Very clear decision win for Canelo there, Danny, on all three scorecards. None of them were close. I think we can discuss that in a moment. But first question I've got for you is, I'll ask you this pre-fight. I'll ask you this again. Do you think Canelo is past his best?
He is past his best. He's not past his best massively. He's not shot or anything like it, but he's not like the force he was for the. I think the best version of Canelo was the Billy Joe Saunders fight, and even when they were showing in the highlight reel pre-fight clips from that fight, I was like, he's not that anymore. He's not that explosive. He's not a million miles off, but I think he's just lost that slight step, which is understandable. 60 odd fights, fought in what, 4, 5 weight classes, and a lot of hard fights, a lot of long fights. So I just don't think I think the explosiveness has maybe gone a bit, and I don't think he'll either has to start a fight really slow or he'll finish a fight really slow. I don't think he's got 12 hard rounds fought at a decent pace in him.
Yeah, two things I think I'd say is that like a prime Canelo, I'm afraid, would have stopped John Ryder tonight. And I just kind of thought the last 3 rounds of that fight, Canelo just didn't look, I don't think looked great. And don't know if that was because he had given up on trying to stop John Ryder or maybe his gas tank gone, I don't know. But those just, I feel like if you consider kind of Caleb Plant stoppage came in the 11th round. He stopped other fighters in the Callum Smith fight was still strong in the later rounds, and I don't think he looked that strong there. And of course, look, he knew there was no chance the scorecards were going to be close. It's not like he kind of needed to win those final rounds to get the decision over the line. Move on to a couple of things, Danny. Got to talk about what happens next. We'll obviously hear in the next day or so. But the Bivol rematch, I think, is expected. I think that's the fight Canelo wants. I think Bivol will take that fight at 175 again. What chances do you give of Canelo winning that rematch, assuming that happens next?
I don't know why he wants it so badly, Elliot, honestly. Like, that's a really, really hard night for him, and it just seems to get harder by each passing fight he has. I give him less chance every time I watch him, to be honest. Like, he's too big for him and he's too fresh for him. Bivol's much closer to his prime, is in his prime, whereas Canelo's not. Even the absolute best version of Canelo, I don't think would beat Bivol, and I just don't see what game plan he can implement to overcome the advantages Bivol would have. I respect it, the fighter in him. I do genuinely think it's a desire to avenge the loss. I don't think it's because he's ducking David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez something close to a 50-50 fight, whereas I would make him a pretty clear underdog in a rematch with Bivol, I have to say.
Yeah, I think most people would agree. I just think Bivol is just obviously stating the obvious, a natural light heavyweight and just fresher than Canelo. And I think the rematch could be a bit of a sad affair, to be honest, because we could see one of the greatest fighters of the last 10, 15, 20 years just kind of get bullied around a bit. I think that's what would happen in that rematch. So we'll see if that gets confirmed. You mentioned the David Benavidez fight there. If I was to push you for your thoughts on that one, which way would you lean towards at this stage? If the Bivol fight didn't get, Bivol gets injured and he fights David Benavidez in the autumn, which way would you lean towards?
I think Benavidez might just be able to outwork him, grind out a decision. Again, a decision against Canelo, as we sort of discussed a bit off call, is a tall ask. But that's a close fight. That's a competitive fight. Yeah, I would maybe slightly edge Benavidez. Maybe that's just because I feel as if Canelo's like putting a stinking performance. He's not, but I think it's just is clear that he's not at his best, and maybe I'm doing him a bit of a disservice here. But again, Benavidez, what, 24, 25 years old, like sets a relentless pace, and he's massive as well. Like Canelo would have certain technical advantages, but like Father Time's undefeated, and as we said in a preview, I think Canelo's a bit older than 32 in terms of like
Yeah.
ring years or whatever. So I would maybe slightly give the edge to Benavidez just to outpoint him, outwork him.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I'd love to see that fight. That fight would just be massive. If it's clear that those two are the best two super middleweights in the world. Obviously Benavidez, yeah, undefeated and kind of obviously had that good win over Caleb Plant. And yeah, we'll see if that fight's a possibility as well. It's late, so I'm not going to kind of keep you for too much longer, Danny. Just going to round things up. Just a word on John Ryder. Fantastic performance by him, I think. I know, to be fair to you, you backed him. You backed this fight to go the distance at 4-1. Congratulations. I certainly didn't, especially when Ryder went down in round 5. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts on John Ryder's performance there.
Yeah, like I think something that came up a lot when people were chatting about John Ryder is, oh, he'll give a good account of himself. And like I seen people describing Rocky Fielding's performance, like Adam Smith when he was commentating on it described it as brave. John Ryder was properly brave in there tonight. After that knockdown in the 5th, I thought that was the fight. In that round, I was shocked he made it out of the round. Shocked he survived, and then towards the end of the fight I gave him at least one if not two of the last 3 rounds. Just unreal. And one thing I'm like most happy about, like some of the way like the Americans go on about British fighters and how much they write them off, and he's not fit to be in the same ring as Canelo. Canelo knows he was in a fight tonight 100%, and
Yeah.
more so than any Brit he's faced, certainly in his run at super middleweight. So like full props to John Ryder. He doesn't need me to tell him, but he can just hold his head up very high after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think he's going to retire? Do you think that'll be it for John Ryder? I think 35 years old, just earned quite a lot of money. What do you expect to happen next for him?
You couldn't begrudge him it, could you? Like, be a great way to send off if someone in the UK can throw a big fight together for him. I'm sure he would take that, but I don't see why you wouldn't retire. He's got a long career. He'll maybe in his head, think, could I have been a world champion if things played out differently? But that's the sort of mentality that can get you taking long-term damage as a fighter. Yeah. So I think, he's earned his retirement, not just tonight, but a great career. And I don't see what big enough fights there are for him in the UK to keep him about. So yeah, I wouldn't knock him for it. Definitely not.
Yeah, I agree. I just think whatever fight happens next is going to be a step down for him. So yeah. I think that, as you said, unless there's the opportunity for a big fight, then yeah, I think it's unlikely. But you never know. He might want to have one more back in the UK, back in London. That's a possibility, but we will see. It's completely up to him. Danny, thank you. Thank you as always. It's been great to kind of watch this fight virtually with you. And yeah, we'll see what happens next in the career of Canelo Alvarez. But yeah, for now, thank you very much and good night.
No problem, mate. Cheers.